Hey, it's Dead Guy Cardboard, back with a truly Dead Guy Cardboard pickup. I'm gonna show off my Colgan's chips pickups over the last couple months. Colgan's chips auctions don't come up too often, and there's a few on eBay and a few on some auction houses, and I picked up some pretty rare ones. And I think I'm gonna go after I'm gonna go after the sets, and it's gonna take me 10, 20 years because there's some in that set that are very difficult, and by some I mean like 50 to 60 that are quite rare. Now there was a list put together by some Net54 members, like a scarcity list, and they ranked it from 1 to 5, 5 being the hardest and 1 being the easiest. Even cards ranked 1 can be difficult to find, like you won't even be able to find some on eBay currently. But the 5 are ultra scarce, and in that list there's 10 rated 5, and I picked up 2 of the 10, and so I was thrilled to pick up some of those, and I picked up quite a few ranked 4 on the scarcity list, which is very, very rare as well, and few on the 4 scarcity list I think could be ranked higher, and few I think it could be ranked lower. But anyway, without further ado, I wanted to show off the pickups that I picked up in the last couple months. Some tough cards, but I'll start with the easier ones. I didn't pick any ranked 1 being the easiest. I picked up here's a couple in the 2 ranking in terms of scarcity. These are like, somewhat easy to come by. These groupings of cards. This is the Murphy. There's a big head and small head variation. I think both are about the same in terms of scarcity level. This is the bigger head variation. And then Riley, Chicago. Hartzell, St. Louis. Now the New York variation I think is level 4, and that one recently sold too, the New York variation, because there was a ton of rare cards listed on a eBay auction. I think someone loaded a good chunk of their Colgan's chips set, and there were some very tough ones on there, but the New York one sold for over $400. To give you a sense for how rare some of these team variation cards can go in terms of like a common player. So that was Hartzell, St. Louis. Then we have Holzwit, St. Louis. Now he has another very, very, very tough variation. He has a Chattanooga variation, team variation, and that Chattanooga team variation is considered the hardest variation. That's the level 5. St. Louis is not too tough. This is like a level 2. Then Jordan, Brooklyn. This is a very low grade for this card because it's pretty common. He has some other tougher variations like Louisville variation, and I can't remember the other one, but picked this up in a lot because in that lot had some very scarce cards. But I don't care too much about condition in this sets. I do for this card because it's not too hard to come by, but some of the ones that I'm going to show, I'm just happy to have them because they're ultra scarce. All right, now we're going into level 3 scarcity, which is still pretty tough. You won't find a lot of these cards on eBay on any given day. Start with Rube Waddell, the Hall of Fame pitcher that everyone loves. This is the St. Louis variation, so this is his easiest variation. He has a Newark and a Minneapolis variation. The Newark is probably level 4, and then the Minneapolis is level 5. That's one of the top 10 rarest cards in the set, at least according to a list compiled on Net54. I actually picked up 2 of these St. Louis cards. One's a 4. This one would not grade a 4, but I'd rather have this one. I'm probably going to sell the 4 because there's just some staining on his face, and I don't love that. Then we have Art Fromm. You may recognize him in the T206 set. This set came out at the same time period as the T206 set, 1909 to 1912. But Art Fromm did not have a portrait in the T206 set. And then obviously this entire Colgan ship set is made up of portraits. And there's also a big head and small head variation of this card. Checkered Chicago. Fairly tough card. Again, we're still in scarcity level 3. Elberfield, New York. Now the Washington variation, just like the T206 set, is rare, and I'll show that in a little bit. Smith, Montreal. Again, the minor league players tend to be scarcer in the set. Some very scarce. This one's just relatively scarce. Ed Summers, Detroit. He also has different variations in terms of the sizing of his uniform. You can see there's a variation where you can't see much of his uniform and one where you can. This is the one where you can see more of his uniform. Byers, Baltimore. I think he has a Louisville card as well. I can't remember what the other variation is, the team variation, but this is the harder one. Baltimore players tend to go for more money. Murray, St. Paul. Pretty tough card. Again, I'm just happy to have it, even though this is in kind of rougher shape. I also plan on putting this in a binder. I've always wanted to put together a raw binder set of a cool pre-war card collection. So I'll eventually put these in binders. Lewis, Milwaukee. This is his tougher variation. I think the other variation is St. Louis. Don't quote me on that, but now this is a tough one. Merch, Indianapolis. I think you could probably put this on scarcity level 4, not 3. Now the Chattanooga variation, that's one of the top 10. The scarcity level 5, and that one also was for sale in this crazy auction that ended on eBay a month or two ago, and that Chattanooga went for, I can't remember what it was, like $500, $600, something crazy. But this one I think I got for $150, which even with the creasing is a steal. There were just so many epically rare Colgan ships from that auction that some of people couldn't put money down on every single card. So I honestly think this could go for a lot more if you decided to sell it. But I am not going to go after the whole set. Then we got another Hall of Famer, Ironman McGinnity. Tough card. Again, this is a minor league card, Newark, which tend to be rare. Roger Bresnahan, another Hall of Famer, the catcher. This one's in kind of rough shape. I wouldn't mind upgrading this sometime. Then Jimmy Austin, New York. I think he has a St. Louis variation that's tougher. I don't really care about getting these cards graded. This just came graded. But. All right, now we're into scarcity level 4. These, once you get into 4 and above, these are rare cards. Now there's, I think I mentioned there's over 300 Colgan ships. In the scarcity list, about 60 of them are level 4. And level 4 cards are just tough to come by. So this shows how hard it is to put together the set. Some of the cards on the scarcity level of 4, I think could be in even tougher. It could be level 5. You just never see these cards pop up, at least from my research. Because I'm relatively new to this set. I've only been collecting for like a little over a year. But I get really obsessed with research, so I've been collecting it for over a year, but maybe have 2 or 3 years worth of knowledge on it. All right, so Davis, St. Paul. And these are tough cards. Again, I'm just happy to have a version of it, even though this one's a beater. Walker, Jersey City. Demet Montreal. Now we know the Demet New York card in T206 is a rare card. It's only found in Polar Bear. Demet has a New York variation and a Montreal variation. The Montreal variation is tougher. And this is a much more scarcer Demet than the T206 Demet. Sally St. Louis. Level 4. These are all level 4 cards, so these are tough cards. Smith, Atlanta. He has another team variation. I think it's Louisville. There's some, I don't know what the setting is on this, because this wasn't a tobacco set. This is a gum set. Here we go. Alberfield, Washington. I think this is actually easier than level 4. I've seen quite a few of these Washington Alberfields pop up, although I want to upgrade mine. This has marking on the back. There we go. It says 4. Nelson, St. Louis. Ryan, St. Paul. Tough card. I think he's there's only 2 mustaches in this set, I believe. He's one of them. Cecil Ferguson, Boston. I think this card is actually easier than level 4, but fairly tough card to come by. This card is definitely not easy to come by. This is the Spade Newark variation, team variation. This is when he was demoted to the minor leagues. The Cincinnati variation is easier. Seabaum and Wiseman. Now, there was some mistake. I think this is actually Wiseman and this is actually Seabaum. And then later they corrected it. But some tough cards. This one has some back damage, so I want to upgrade this guy eventually. I think that's the only time I'm going to upgrade these cards, if there's some sort of damage to them. Taylor, Kansas City. Tough card. Hoffman. I don't think this is that tough of a card. I've seen quite a decent amount of these cards. This came in a lot. This is not in great shape, but... And then Pinkering, Louisville. He has 3 variations. This is, to me, this is the easiest variation. He's got some tough ones. I think Omaha is one of them. All right, so now we're getting into, I think I mentioned that I picked up 2 of the 10 scarcest cards in the set, at least according to this list that was compiled by some Colgan Ships collectors. Thrilled to pick up these cards. In that auction on eBay, there was like, I think 6 or 7 of the top 10 that were listed on, and I only won, I only won 1, and I won another one on an auction house, because they can go for a ton of money. But I was thrilled to pick up this guy, Rowan, Philadelphia. There's a Rowan Cincinnati team variation. It's a fairly tough card, like a level 3, maybe level 4, but this one is level 5. This is an ultra tough card to find. And then, honestly, one of my favorite cards in the set, the Titus, a level 5 scarcity, one of the top 10 hardest cards to come by. Love the mustache. I believe these 2 guys are the only guys that have mustaches in the set. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's correct. But this is a fairly tough card to come by in T206, mostly because there's a lot of people hoarding the Titus cards because it's the only mustache card in the T206 set. But the Titus and the Colgan Ships set is ultra tough. So anyway, I'm thrilled to pick up a lot of these very scarce Colgan's Chips cards. Colgan's Chips don't come up for auction very often. Even common ones ranked 2 and 3, just you don't see on eBay. So to pick up a huge stack of these scarcity level 4s and 2 of the 5 toughest in the set. I was just thrilled. Now, it'll probably take me 10, 20 years to finish the set because some of these are really tough to come by. I think I have about 50 of them, and there's about over 300 of them to complete the set. I think only like 3 or 4 people have actually completed the set. So it's gonna be a tough challenge, a slow process, but it'll keep me busy in between collecting the 3000 hit club, a 509 club, and some other things I'm collecting later.